Every day you delay a decision, you are paying for it. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, this channel will continue speaking to you. Shalom. You are not reckless. You are not impulsive. You think carefully. You weigh options. You delay decisions, and somehow nothing ever solidifies. Your life resembles a house where every room remains unfurnished, every wall unpainted, every commitment held in perpetual review. You move through days collecting information, analyzing possibilities, maintaining what you call careful consideration. Yet nothing accumulates. Nothing takes permanent form. This is not about perfectionism. This is not about fear. This is about something far more precise. You wake each morning to the same suspended state. Projects remain in draft. Relationships hover at provisional levels. Career moves stay under consideration. Investment decisions await further research. Even small purchases become extended evaluations. You tell yourself this is responsible behavior. You tell yourself this demonstrates intelligence, wisdom, proper caution. You believe you are avoiding mistakes by keeping options open, by refusing to commit prematurely, by maintaining what you consider flexibility. But observe what actually happens. Your apartment lease expires, and you research neighborhoods for months without choosing. The lease renews automatically at higher rates while you continue evaluating. Your savings account grows because you cannot decide between investment options. Opportunities circulate through your network while you assess their merits. Conversations with potential partners remain surface level because deeper commitment requires decisions you postpone. Time passes, the world continues. Your life remains in preparation mode. I am Rabbi Ezra Melech. What I will show you is not about motivation. It is not about fixing anything within you. It is about recognizing a pattern so fundamental that once seen, it cannot be unseen. You display all the characteristics of someone who should consolidate progress, accumulate results, build momentum. You possess intelligence. You demonstrate responsibility. You show consideration for consequences. Yet your life resembles water that never finds a container, spreading across every available surface without ever forming depth. This presents a puzzle worth examining. Most people misunderstand why indecision feels safe. They believe hesitation represents careful thinking. They imagine that keeping options open demonstrates sophistication. They assume that delaying choices proves responsibility. Watch how this reasoning develops. You encounter a decision point. Instead of choosing quickly, you expand the analysis. You research additional alternatives. You seek more information. You consult other perspectives. You create comparison charts. You sleep on it. You give it more time. This process feels productive. It feels thorough. It feels intelligent. You tell yourself that hasty decisions create problems. You point to examples of people who chose quickly and encountered difficulty. You value your reputation as someone who thinks things through. You take pride in your methodical approach. The delay itself becomes evidence of your careful nature. Each day you postpone a decision reinforces your identity as someone who does not rush. Every additional piece of information you gather proves your thoroughness. Every option you consider demonstrates your comprehensive thinking. This feels like wisdom. It feels like maturity. It feels like the behavior of someone who understands consequences and acts responsibly. But something else is occurring that you do not see. Every decision contains two components: the choice itself and the weight that choice carries forward. When you choose quickly, That weight begins accumulating immediately. When you delay, the weight never begins to form. Consider a simple example. You need new furniture for your living room. You research options for 3 months, you visit stores, you compare prices, you read reviews, you measure spaces, you create budgets, you discuss possibilities with friends. During these 3 months, your living room remains empty. Your social life operates around this emptiness. You do not invite people over. You do not create the habits that furnished spaces enable. You do not develop the comfort that comes from settled environments. Eventually, you purchase furniture. But 3 months of accumulated living never occurred. The delayed decision did not improve the furniture choice. It prevented the furniture choice from beginning to serve its function. This same pattern operates across every delayed decision. The job you research for months instead of accepting immediately costs you months of experience, months of relationship building, months of skill development that only occur through doing the work. The relationship you evaluate extensively instead of committing to costs you months of deepening that only occur through commitment itself. The delay does not improve outcomes. The delay prevents outcomes from beginning to accumulate their effects. But the deeper mechanism operates below this level. Systems respond to certainty. When you make a clear decision, the world begins organizing around that decision. People understand your position. Resources align with your direction. Momentum begins building in support of your choice. When you remain undecided, systems cannot respond. People do not know how to interact with your uncertainty. Resources stay uncommitted. Nothing aligns because there is nothing definite to align with. You experience this as the world being unresponsive to your needs. You notice that opportunities seem to flow toward other people. You observe that resources appear more available to those who seem less qualified than you. You watch others advance while you remain in place. This creates a puzzle for you because you know you are doing everything correctly. You are being responsible. You are thinking carefully. You are avoiding rash choices. Yet somehow the world seems to respond more readily to people who appear less thoughtful than you. What you cannot see is that the world responds to decision, not to the quality of thinking that precedes decision. Systems require clear signals to function. Uncertainty, regardless of how intelligent or careful, provides no signal for systems to process. When someone makes a clear choice, even an imperfect choice, systems can engage. Banks approve loans for people with clear plans. Employers promote people who demonstrate clear direction. Partners commit to people who offer clear commitment. Networks support people who present clear positions. When someone remains undecided, even with superior analysis, systems have nothing to engage with. The undecided person presents no clear signal. There is nothing definite to approve, promote, commit to, or support. This is why your careful analysis, your thorough research, your responsible delay produces so little result. It is not that your thinking is flawed. It is that undecided thinking, regardless of its quality, cannot activate the systems that create results. But there is something even more fundamental occurring. Undecided positions cannot accumulate weight. Weight comes from commitment over time. When you commit to something and maintain that commitment through various circumstances, the commitment deepens. It develops roots. It builds history. It creates authority. When you keep positions open, nothing deepens. Every option remains at surface level. No roots develop because nothing stays in place long enough to grow them. No history builds because nothing commits long enough to create history. No authority develops because authority requires sustained positioning. You remain perpetually at the beginning of everything. Every choice feels new because you have never stayed with any choice long enough for it to become established. Every decision feels overwhelming because you have never developed the comfort that comes from having made similar decisions and lived with their consequences. This is why life feels so effortful for you. You are constantly navigating unfamiliar territory because you never stay anywhere long enough for it to become familiar. You are always starting from zero because you never commit long enough to build from previous experience. Others appear to move through life with less effort not because they are smarter or more capable, but because they have accumulated weight behind their positions. Their previous decisions support their current decisions. Their established commitments reduce the energy required for new commitments. Their settled positions provide platforms for additional development. Your unsettled positions provide no platform for anything. Everything must be rebuilt from the foundation because no foundation ever consolidated. Watch what happens with your energy. Each day you wake up to the same set of unresolved decisions. The apartment question, the career question, the relationship question, the investment question. Each question requires the same mental energy you applied to it yesterday and the day before. This energy never compounds, it never builds toward resolution, it simply cycles through the same considerations repeatedly. You spend enormous amounts of mental energy making no progress because energy applied to unmade decisions produces no forward movement. Meanwhile, others spend energy on implementation rather than decision-making. They use their mental resources to execute rather than evaluate. Their energy compounds because each day builds on previous days rather than repeating previous days. You experience this as chronic fatigue without accomplishment. You feel busy but unproductive. You think constantly but advance rarely. You analyze extensively but decide minimally. This is not about your capacity or capability. This is about energy allocation. Energy applied to perpetual consideration produces different results than energy applied to sustained implementation. The world operates according to systems that reward sustained positioning. Financial systems compound returns for money that stays invested over time. Career systems promote individuals who demonstrate consistent direction over time. Social systems deepen around relationships that maintain commitment over time. These systems do not reward perfect timing or optimal decisions. They reward sustained engagement with imperfect decisions. The person who chooses imperfectly but maintains their choice often accumulates better results than the person who analyzes perfectly but never maintains any choice long enough for systems to respond. You have been optimizing for decision quality when systems optimize for decision consistency. You focus on making the right choice when systems respond to making committed choice. You prioritize analysis when results come from commitment maintained over time regardless of the analysis that preceded it. This creates a fundamental mismatch between your approach and how results actually develop. Your approach is sophisticated and intelligent, but it is calibrated to a world that does not exist. The actual world responds to certainty and commitment more than to intelligence and analysis. Consider how authority develops. Authority comes from sustained positioning on questions that matter. When someone takes clear positions and maintains those positions through various circumstances, they develop credibility. Others begin recognizing them as reliable sources on those topics. When someone avoids taking positions or constantly revises positions based on new information, they never develop authority. They may be more accurate or more informed, but accuracy and information do not create authority. Sustained positioning creates authority. You have prioritized accuracy over authority. You value being right over being consistent. You focus on having the best answer rather than having a sustained answer. This produces superior thinking but inferior positioning. Superior thinking that never commits to positioning produces no accumulated result. The world responds to your positioning, not to the quality of thinking that remains internal to you. Without positioning, your thinking remains invisible and irrelevant to outcomes. This is why nothing ever anchored. What was never decided was never allowed to form. Watch how this pattern extends beyond individual decisions into the structure of your entire life. Your living situation remains temporary because you never commit to a location long enough for it to become home. Your career remains developmental because you never commit to a path long enough for expertise to deepen. Your relationships remain provisional because you never commit deeply enough for intimacy to develop. Everything stays at the surface level because commitment is what allows depth to develop, and commitment requires decision maintained over time. You cannot access the benefits of depth without paying the cost of commitment, and you cannot maintain commitment while keeping options open. The cost is not about the specific decisions you avoid making. The cost is about the accumulated effect of avoiding decision itself. Each unmade decision costs you the weight, authority, depth, and momentum that would have developed from maintaining that decision over time. You have been paying this cost continuously without recognizing it because the cost appears as absence rather than presence. You notice what you lack rather than what the lack costs you. You see the empty living room rather than the months of social development that the empty living room prevented. You notice the uncertain career direction rather than the expertise that uncertainty prevents from accumulating. The cost accumulates in the space between potential and actual. Your potential remains high because you never committed to any specific direction. Your actual results remain minimal because potential without commitment produces no tangible outcome. This maintains the illusion that you are preserving options when you are actually preventing outcomes. Open options feel valuable because they represent unlimited possibility. But unlimited possibility without decision creates no reality. Systems exist to convert possibility into reality through sustained commitment to specific directions. When you avoid commitment, you preserve possibility but prevent conversion. Your life remains rich in potential and poor in actualized results. The exhaustion you experience comes from constantly maintaining all possibilities without allowing any to become real. This requires enormous energy because possibility without form requires continuous mental energy to maintain. Actualized results, once established, maintain themselves through momentum and accumulated effect. You work harder than others to maintain your current position because your current position exists only in potential rather than in established reality. Others work less hard because their positions exist in accumulated reality that supports itself. This is why people with seemingly worse decisions often show better results. Their worst decisions sustained over time accumulate real effects. Your better decisions, never sustained, accumulate nothing. The mechanism is not about intelligence or decision quality. The mechanism is about the relationship between decision and time. Decision creates boundary. Boundary maintained over time creates weight. Weight accumulates into authority, expertise, depth, momentum, and results. Without decision, there is no boundary. Without boundary, nothing accumulates. Without accumulation, there is no weight behind your position in any area of life. You move through systems as someone with no accumulated weight. Banks see you as someone with no established direction. Employers see you as someone with no committed path. Partners see you as someone with no sustained depth. Networks see you as someone with no reliable positioning. This is accurate observation, not prejudice or misunderstanding. You have intentionally avoided accumulating weight because you believed weight would limit your options. You have prioritized flexibility over accumulation because you thought flexibility was more valuable. But flexibility without accumulation creates a specific type of life. It creates a life where everything remains provisional, nothing ever settles, and you never access the benefits that come from sustained commitment to specific directions. Those benefits include depth, expertise, authority, momentum, and the compound effects that make life easier over time rather than harder. You have chosen a more difficult life in pursuit of keeping options open. The open options do not compensate for the increased difficulty because open options provide no tangible benefits. They only provide the psychological comfort of believing you could choose differently, while the lack of choice prevents any benefits from developing. Decision creates boundary. Boundary creates weight. Weight creates authority. Authority creates results. Results create momentum. Momentum reduces the effort required for subsequent progress. Without decision, none of this sequence can begin. The sequence requires decision as the initial element. Everything else depends on decision being made and maintained regardless of whether the decision was optimal. The sequence rewards commitment more than accuracy because the sequence cannot operate without something definite to work with. You have been trying to access the benefits of this sequence without providing its initial requirement. You want authority without boundary. You want results without commitment. You want momentum without sustained direction. You want the compound effects without paying the compound costs. This is why nothing ever consolidates. Consolidation requires sustained pressure in specific directions. Open options distribute pressure equally across all possibilities, preventing consolidation in any direction. The even distribution feels balanced and intelligent, but even distribution prevents the concentration necessary for anything to form. Your life resembles energy that never concentrates long enough to create matter. The energy remains, but it produces no substantial results, because substantial results require concentration of force over sustained periods. Distributed force, regardless of its total quantity, cannot create substantial effects. Systems respond to concentrated force applied consistently over time. They do not respond to distributed force applied inconsistently across multiple possibilities. Your distributed approach, though more comprehensive, cannot activate the systems that create substantial results in any specific area. The decision tax is not about wrong decisions. The decision tax is about energy spent maintaining possibilities instead of actualizing them. Every day you consider the same questions is a day spent maintaining potential rather than converting potential into accumulated reality. This maintenance cost compounds over time until the energy required to maintain all your open possibilities exceeds the energy you have available for anything else. You become exhausted not from doing too much, but from deciding too little. The undecided positions require constant energy to maintain because they exist only through your continued consideration. Decided positions maintain themselves through established reality that no longer requires your energy to sustain. This is why others seem to have more energy for new projects, while you feel depleted by existing considerations. They have converted their energy into established realities that generate their own momentum. You continue spending energy to maintain possibilities that generate no momentum because they never become real enough to create their own forward motion. The hidden cost of indecision is not the opportunities you miss. The hidden cost is the energy you spend maintaining the decision rather than benefiting from having made it. This cost accumulates until your life consists primarily of maintenance energy spent on considerations rather than implementation energy spent on results. Decision eliminates the maintenance cost by converting possibility into reality. Reality maintains itself through systems that respond to established facts rather than continued consideration. When you decide, you transfer the maintenance burden from your internal energy to external systems that support actualized choices. Your internal energy becomes available for new development instead of being consumed by maintaining old considerations. This is how others appear to have endless energy for new projects, while you feel consumed by existing questions. They have systematically converted their considerations into realities that no longer require their energy to sustain. The pattern can be recognized but not advised away. Recognition creates the possibility of different choices, but the choice to decide must still be made and maintained by you. No external motivation can create the sustained commitment that accumulated results require. What you can see is the cost you have been paying without recognizing it. The cost of distributed energy, unconsolidated positions, unmaintained boundaries, and unrealized accumulation. The cost of keeping everything open and allowing nothing to close into definite form. The cost of living in possibility rather than reality, maintaining potential rather than actualizing it, preserving options rather than exercising them. The cost of a life that never settles because settling was always avoided in favor of keeping more options available. This is why nothing ever anchored. What was never decided was never allowed to form. Decision creates boundary. Boundary creates weight.